People will complain endlessly about how expensive the games are when they are literally 1/3 of the cost of what they were 40 years ago.
How can these video game companies convince you to unplug and detach, rip off that umbilical cord, and go play something else?
If you can do anything with your money and that money is going to double, and you say, well, no, instead, if you invest in us making this game, instead of doubling it, though, we'll give you 10% on your investment. Nobody's giving you the money. Put 200 hours into this game and I'm so pissed that I spent $70 on it. Okay, find something for like 37 cents an hour that you can do reliably that's really fun and isn't illegal even in Somalia.
Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. I am Kevin Lieber. I found a treasure in the dumpster recently, and with me as always is Matthew Tabor.
Kevin's an expert dumpster diver. Nobody knows this. Nobody appreciates this. But we need to hear the full dumpster diving, what is it, TV/monitor, etc. story at the end. I do want to do a quick RIP. The RIP is to the white t-shirt that I'm wearing. This is its last day. This is its last day. It's been with me for probably 10 years. It's time to retire. It's just got to be retired. And I have, so many white t-shirts, and the only time I retire one is if it's like ripped beyond being useful as a garment, which is pretty hard to do. Or if one is severely worn and a new one comes into the mix. And I realized I only do new ones for 3 things. I'll put a new one on for a wedding. I'll put a new one on for a funeral. And I'll put a new one on for a serious work event. Well, I had to go to a funeral not long ago, so I had to crack a new t-shirt. Well, now it goes into the mix, which means another one has to go out. So I haven't named them. I think it's like animals where it gets weird if you eat something that you've named, but I do feel a little sad that this is. Yeah,
it would make it more
last day,
more depressing, if that's even possible. I guess it is if you gave it a name, because then you're like, goodbye to Luis.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I know that later on you have your own version of my dumpster diving story that involves meat that you want to tell. We also, speaking of food, want to talk about a gigantic Cheez-It that is available at Taco Bell inside of a Crunch Wrap these days for some reason.
I don't know anything about this other than Justin Wang's tweet the other day. So I'm excited to hear you tell me what this thing is.
I don't think there is much more to it than that, but we'll talk about it anyway. But the first thing that I wanted to discuss was something that blew my mind as a person who, I'm not an economics nerd. I actually, the lowest grade, I was thinking about this the other day, the lowest grade I ever got in college was an intro to microeconomics course.
No kidding.
Yes. And the story behind this, might sort of explain why I did so poorly in that class. I don't know, Matt, if I've ever told you this, but
I've never heard anything about this, so no.
Okay. Well, I mean, you may want to distance yourself from me in general after hearing this story because of my the dubious circumstances surrounding my graduation from college. I walked, I did the whole thing. I wore the gown, I had my graduation, and then about a month later, it turns out, hey, you're like 9 credits short of graduating. After I'm already home, I've already left. Like, I graduated, I packed up my stuff, I moved back home, to find a job and move on with my life. And at that point, I received this letter in the mail. Have I ever told you this?
No, but my first thought when you say this is like, now that would be a minor annoyance. But back then, you couldn't just say, okay, I'll do the online course and get it done.
Yeah. So a couple of things happened. First of all, it was their fault that, I mean, it was my fault, but it really wasn't. Like they screwed up my transcripts from when I had transferred from going to Drexel University earlier. So they counted those credits, which I didn't finish that semester. But this whole time I'm there for 4 years, you know, my academic advisor or whoever is just like, oh yeah, you're fine. You're on track. You know, these classes look good. They fulfill your requirements. You're good to go, whatever. You know, it wasn't until someone in some office, some bean counter is actually looking at my transcript and was like, yeah, this guy is like basically a full semester short of actually fulfilling his requirements for graduation for his degree.
That's the only thing useful that academic advisors do, is to track the things that you need to satisfy to graduate, to get your major, your minor, whatever it is, to check the boxes. That's the only useful function they actually fulfill. And they drop that ball for you.
Yeah. It's the you had one job meme.
It really is.
Well, that didn't work. So anyway, because a lot of the blame was on them, there was a compromise that was decided upon.
Oh.
In which they basically waived 6 of them. It was either 6 or 9 credits. They just waived. They were like, okay, fine, you know, we screwed this up. Just take like one online class somewhere, because there were online classes then, but it wasn't like a ubiquitous thing like it is now, but they did exist. Yeah. And the way that you took it also, there was no video conferencing. It's not like Skype had even been invented yet, let alone Discord and Zoom and everything that we have now. There was none of that.
This was probably 2005-ish, right?
Yeah,
is that about right?
Yeah, 2006.
Okay.
So yeah, basically YouTube was being invented at this point. There was like, you know, and the class that I ended up taking was this Intro to Microeconomics class. Obviously there was no lecturing. I just had to read from a book and then do these tests, and I did not do well at that. So there's my little side story about my accidental jaunt into economics. The point is, I saw this thread about video game economics on Twitter the other day that was so fascinating to me. I sent it to you immediately, who does not give any sort of crap about video games. But I thought that the surrounding business side of it would be appealing for you to read through.
Yeah, and I know enough about how it all works from talking to you. And so I had enough to follow along in that thread. But I want to say one thing before we go into this thread. This is so funny to me because you have a better understanding of microeconomic principles than anybody I know who doesn't work in economics. I happen to know a bunch of people who, like, I do some work with an economics foundation. So obviously those people have a tremendous amount of knowledge of economics. If you don't count them, you are at the top of the conceptual understanding of microeconomics. And it's so funny to me that it was your lowest grade. My lowest grade was calculus. And, you know, math has been a not insignificant part of my career track. It's very interesting to me how the the terrible performance on these things are actually in things that we have a decent handle on.
Yeah, I mean, that could be, I guess, its own other topic about education, but certainly at that time, like, I had no understanding. I didn't have a teacher. I was trying to read it, you know, and learn it, teach myself out of some textbook, reading about like elasticity. Like it didn't go well.
the concepts in a 101 thing fall into two camps with microeconomics, and one camp is extremely useful, applicable stuff. We talk about opportunity cost a lot. That's one of those concepts that literally everybody in the world has to internalize. They have to, or they live badly. And then the other camp is like drawing graphs and understanding curves that are not things that you tend to encounter in real life. You know, things being elastic or inelastic. Normal people would put it in different terms, you know, to get it. But yeah, so I can see there's no shame in phoning it in on that category of stuff that is kind of the academic side of microeconomics.
Yeah, it was like I was trying to learn another language when I was 100% checked out of college, thinking that I had
it's the worst scenario.
Already graduated. I was like, what am I doing? So anyway, this thread popped. I want to, credit the person who wrote it. His name is Jacob Navik. And Jacob says that he worked he reported to two CEOs of Square Enix for the better part of a decade and ran a subsidiary. So this is a person who spent 10 years deep inside one of the major video game companies on planet Earth. And he starts the thread with that just to be like, look, here's where I'm coming from with my thoughts about this. The catalyst for it is that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is not selling through the amount that the company needed. It's not generating the sales that they expected it to. It's falling short of their projections. Okay. And this is a huge game. 100% my personal game of the year, a game that I was looking forward to for the last 4 years. I loved every second of it. I played it for 100 hours. Like, I love this game. It's great. But it is not, blowing the market apart in terms of success. Certainly not to what their expectations were for the company and for the product. So he goes on. So this has been a topic of discussion. I want to preface this thread by, setting the context that this has been a topic of discussion, questioning, how could they not hit their sales mark on this? It's a huge game. It's very popular. A lot of people play it. It's not a cheap product. The cheapest the least amount you could spend is $70 for the unit. Then they have a deluxe edition that's $100, and they have a ultimate edition that's like $300 or something. It's like, how is this possible?
Which one did you buy?
The deluxe edition was sold out. I couldn't buy it. So that's like another
You had to get the normie edition?
I got the normie edition. Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to buy the $300 edition because I was like, ugh, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot. Imagine waiting 4 years for something and then just having to get the normal version. That must have felt terrible.
Didn't feel good. Still doesn't feel good. I go to bed, covered in shame.
Jeff got what you couldn't.
Oh, he did.
Jeff Strife got what you couldn't.
Nice.
So at least we have one hero in the podcast.
A true fan, puts me to shame. But that's another element to this where I'm like, I couldn't even get that, and I wanted it. It was like the $100 deluxe version, came with a steel book and whatever. That's sold out everywhere. Cool. I could not purchase it. So that leads me, and probably led others to believe, well, this is very popular and they're doing really well with it. And then later they came out and being like, it's not a flop, but it's not selling what we need it to. So that's why Jacob.
How far off are they?
I don't know. I don't know.
We don't know. Okay.
I don't know if they'll ever say. Yeah.
Okay. But it's not like catastrophic implosion. It's just like, no, this is missing the mark.
It's missing the mark. And that's kind of really what matters, to the shareholders and the company and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
So that sets the stage for why Jacob Navik, who worked at Square for a decade, made this long thread really detailing the state of the video game industry. And it's a really long thread. I shared it in the episode chat for everybody here in the Discord. They could read through it, at their leisure. But it goes all over the place. And that's why I thought it was interesting to send to you. And it brings up a lot of really interesting things that I wanted to talk about. The two biggest ones, well, really, it's just one big one, was that there was a lot of kind of pushback against him on this thread. And it just reminded me, we started this talking about economics, that and the fact that you said that I'm one of like the most, knowledgeable people about economics that is sad. And because it further kind of coalesces my point, which is that not only does nobody understand economics, they don't want to. Because if they wanted to, this thread would have been hugely popular, would have had, 30,000 retweets. That was one of the things I really wanted to mention here is the sort of the optics on this thread are super weird because yes, it does have 1 million views, 1 million impressions, but it only has 2,000 likes. Okay.
1 million impressions and 2,000 likes. Is that right?
Yes. But 2,000 bookmarks. Ooh. So the likes and the bookmarks are virtually equal on this. Isn't that weird?
That's pretty interesting. Yeah, it is. I mean, it is so long that I can see people bookmarking it to read later. So that's a portion. But having read the thread, I can understand why you would like it and catalog it. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a great deal of crossover between the people who actually read it and the ones who thought, oh, this is an important one.
It said to me that a lot of people, well, they didn't want to like it. Like they didn't hit the like button. Very few people did. I'm one of the people who did, but just looking at that ratio, it's very clear that there is not a whole lot of support for a thread delving into the economics and business of video games. However, I mean, you'll get threads all day long or tweets all day long complaining about any slew of issues surrounding what games cost and, how long they are and what the budgets are and the microtransactions and the DLC and what they're charging for different special editions. And you'll get that stuff all day long. But here is a tweet from a person with insider, like deep knowledge about how that works. Crickets. Crickets. No one's interested in that.
No, they aren't. And I've seen a lot of those threads because when they're big on things like, you and I have talked about the actual cost, the real cost of a game, because people seem to get locked into thinking like Atari games were $40, Nintendo games were $40. Games until the end of time need to be $40 or $50, without thinking that like what a dollar means. What a dollar is and what it buys you is not the same now as when, your mom was getting you E.T. for the 2600. Games are substantially cheaper now. They just are. Like, how much was your normie edition of this game?
$70, which is actually a recent-ish price increase on new games. They jumped up from being 60 to 70 when they first come out. Yeah.
Okay. And I need to get the year on 2600. When did it come out? 77. Just wanted to make sure on that. All right. That's even worse than what I thought. So if you take $1 in 1977, it has the same purchasing power as $5.27 today. So $70 divided by 527 is a $13 game back in the day. That's if you were buying this game in 1977, it would have been paying the same price as now. It would have been about $13 not on sale. Well, how much did Atari games cost? What was the retail price? Do you know the range on that?
I have no idea. No, I even remember Nintendo games were all over the place. They could be like $30. They could be $60. Genesis, Super Nintendo era was even weirder. There was like I think Phantasy Star 4 was like $100 when that came out.
Yeah, so it looks like this is just from a Reddit thing. Somebody says it seems like most of the games when I was buying them in 82, 83, they were around $20, $30 each. Some new hot titles were more, other weak titles discounted lower. So that same kind of thing with NES. You know, I remember the $10 premium being added when Mario 3 came out. You know, that was a $50 game, whereas the others were, you know, below 40. But yeah, so it's the equivalent of $13 when a hot game was going to be up to 3 times that price. So anyway, the point I'm getting at here is that people will complain endlessly about how expensive the games are when they are literally 1/3 of the cost of what they were 40 years ago. 1/3 of the real cost. And they're a lot better, don't you think?
1,000 times better. Yes, 1,000, at least 1,000 times better. I would much rather play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth than Zaxxon or whatever, even, you know, Space Invaders.
Yeah, the terrible games. Yeah, so anyway, I've seen those. You sent me those threads, and people will go bananas over that topic and insist that games are way, way overpriced. It's insane, and they refuse to even engage with the concept of real dollars. They refuse to engage with the notion that inflation changes prices, but you need to think about what the actual value of that dollar is. And they won't do that. So then you get a thread like the one that you're talking about that is one of the best breakdown threads I think I've ever read on any topic. It's clear. It's got tons of information without being a total tome. It's peak. It's peak Twitter. It's the best. How are they going to go for that? How are they going to like this analysis when they won't grapple with simply the price of a game over time?
Well, it's not happening. I mean, that's really the answer. It's not happening. You know, people aren't interested in that. Instead, what I also found interesting is, and I do want to at least sort of give you the cliff notes of the thread, especially for people who are, you know, they're not in the episode chat, they're just listening to us. But the cliff notes are that, well, first of all, these video games cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make over the course of several years. You know, I don't know what the development time was on Qbert, but I can almost guarantee it required many fewer employees and much fewer hours of, you know, working hours to program Qbert as it does to program Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So you're talking.
What about Mario 2, which was like 4 minutes of programming time? And it was just slapping a sticker on a game that yeah. Anyway,
just change some sprites from whatever that game was, Doki Doki Panic or whatever the game was.
Yeah,
that they just changed. So anyway, so yes, video games take many, many years and many, many employees. All of those employees like to get paid well or get paid enough money to keep doing the job, whatever that is, to show up to work and, you know, design graphics and program battle systems and whatever else their job is, do concept art. And then you have, you know, marketing dollars afterwards, which is also millions and millions of dollars in marketing to promote the thing, to then sell it. Now, the portion of, and then before I get into what everyone got upset about, another thing that he says that is fascinating to me, and I don't know if it's fascinating to you or anybody else who's listening, but I want to talk about it anyway because I was blown away by it, is the landscape, and this is going to kind of feed into a future episode that I want to do about movie theaters. The landscape around video games now is not what it was 10 years ago because there are all of these, I don't know if he calls them forever games or if anyone calls them forever games or if I just made up the term forever games, but I've been thinking about it as forever games. There are all these forever games that people play now that are so great and so addicting and you build your whole life around, you build your friendships around, your social communities around, you build your day around playing these forever games, whether that is Fortnite or Minecraft or Roblox, Final Fantasy 14 online, World of Warcraft, back in the day certainly was one. But
that was me.
These forever games have such a gravitational force now that it's much harder to convince people to play something else. Why would you put down this game, Call of Duty, whatever it is, Modern Warfare, that all your friends are playing? It's your favorite thing. You've spent months, years building up your character and getting really good at it, whatever it is. How can these video game companies convince you to unplug and detach, rip off that umbilical cord and go play something else? That is pretty hard to do now in a way that didn't exist to the degree it does now 10 years ago.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by what you're saying because it seems impossible. The worst thing about buying a game, and again, anybody who's listened to this show for some time knows that my relationship with gaming is archaic. It's completely archaic. And I'm laughing. Boss Thread says that his SimCity has lasted longer than the Confederacy. So, the worst part about games back in the day was that most people didn't get a lot of them, right? They didn't just buy a game whenever they wanted. Maybe adults did, but kids didn't. You would get a game and you would hope it was really good, because if it wasn't, well, you had a sucky game until you got another game at some distant point in the future. In 2 months when you're 10 is like 2 years. We talked about the rentals of games and how amazing that was, because it's not a big deal if you drop $2 on a weekend game rental and it sucks. It's like, well, whatever, you get a different game the next week. Anyway, why, if you play a game that you like, and I did like World of Warcraft and I played it for years and years, I love that. Why would you give that up to roll the dice on something that, it's just a gamble you don't need to make? I'd much rather pay the $14 a month to keep doing what is already awesome and doing it in new ways. Warcraft came at a slower pace, all the updates and things like that, than like the Fortnite updates that I'm seeing now, and DLC on other games is coming out at a crazy pace compared to, new stuff in Warcraft back in the day. But why would you exit that ecosystem when what you're getting is reasonably priced, if not free to play? Why would you bother? Why'd you drop out $70, $80 on a game that is finite, that may or may not be enjoyable? I mean, seems like one of the hardest sells ever. And the parallel is happening with TV. I was talking to producer Ben about this the other night, because he's putting together a little, basically a short that's on the economic side of TV shows. How it's this quick churn and burn, because shows like Mad Men, for example, that take a really long time to develop, that may be expensive, it's a shitty investment. It's not great. Why would you take a chance as a studio on Mad Men and hope that by season 3 people are really getting into it, when you can film Tires with Shane Gillis in probably a weekend? Which, did you watch it, Kevin?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay. I watched it. It's funny. I'm glad I watched it, but it's 6 20-minute episodes and there is one set. It's the tire place. That's it. There's it's one building. They literally could have filmed all 6 of those episodes in like 3 days. I don't know what it cost, but it had to be a lot less than a slow burn. You hope everybody's into the dynamics of Madison Avenue advertising, or the the strange blend of political motivations and personal motivations in a Game of Thrones. At least with Game of Thrones, they knew that the books had succeeded, so they could give that a go with some confidence. But like Lost is one of those shows that there was no guarantee people were going to be really into it. It was heady. Who knows? So why would you do that gamble as a game studio and develop this blockbuster thing that takes 4 years and like $100+ million when you can crank on a fortnight?
Well, I mean, that's the big question that I think will be remain to be answered with the industry. And that's sort of what part of his thread was about, was sort of where do all these companies sort of go from here? The paradigm shift that occurred in my brain reading it was that, like, yeah, times have changed. Like the era of spending 4 years or whatever to come out with this blockbuster, like you said, video game that everyone plays because it's the next big blockbuster, that seems to be over. I mean, of course, there will be people like me who are really excited about it, but not a lot of me's, because everybody else is just locked into whatever forever game niche that they're in, whether they like shooters and they do Call of Duty or Fortnite or these free-to-play games, Genshin Impact, like whatever it is. And like you said, those games are constantly updating and, giving you new maps and skins and whatever it is. So there's always...
They're social too.
Well, yeah.
They're social.
That's where your friends are.
In a way that this Final Fantasy game is not.
No.
Doesn't have a social element, right?
No.
Okay.
It
loses on so many levels. to Candy Crush.
It loses, and it's losing. I mean, it wins on levels that make me happy. I loved it. The story was amazing. The characters were great. The graphics were beautiful. The music and the sound were all great. The battle system is sweet. It's great. But it doesn't matter if they're going, they're not hitting their financial goals. So here we will now get into the whole topic of financial goals and business and economics, and particularly the part that people were upset about in this thread. So the portion that people got mad about had to do with the investors who fund these projects. So, the money, these hundreds of millions of dollars, don't just come out of nowhere. They come from people giving the money to invest in the project, hoping to make some money at the end of it. That's how it works. So the portion explaining that, I'll just read what he wrote, and then, we can discuss the blowback to it. So he writes, if a game costs $100 million to make and it takes 5 years, then you have to beat, as an example, what the business could have returned investing $100 million into the stock market over that period. For the 5 years prior to February 2024, the stock market averaged a rate of return of 14.5%. Investing that $100 million in the stock market would net you a return of $201 million. So this is our ROI baseline. So this is what people who are putting their millions of dollars into this project are looking to get as a reward for funding the project, right?
This is where we go back to your storied academic career in microeconomics.
Oh boy.
Kevin almost got the Nobel Prize for this. That's how important the microecon semester, online semester was. But this is one of those, I actually mentioned the concept. This is the opportunity cost. You have to understand how this works. Like, it is part of every single thing that you do. We talk about it with the podcast because that, couple of 2 hours a week that we do on that is 2 hours that we're not doing something else. That's the opportunity cost. The 22 minutes I watch tires with is 22 minutes I'm not outside working or otherwise doing something useful to my body. I'm not exercising. This is the opportunity cost. Well, on the business side, it hits everybody involved. You have to pay people good wages, because if other people are paying more, then the opportunity cost of them continuing to work for you is too high. Investors have to evaluate the opportunity cost of what they're doing with their money. And that's what happens with this. They look at it and say, if $100 million can do this, if we do X, if we do Y, it has to do at least as well. That runs the decisions. I mean, it has to. It has to. And it's the same exact thing that you do all day long. All day long. And that's all this guy's saying in that part of the thread, is that this is the baseline expectation that as a company you have to meet. If you can do anything with your money and that money is going to double, and you say, well, no, instead, if you invest in us making this game, instead of doubling it, though, we'll give you 10% on your investment. Nobody's giving you the money. It's a terrible use of the money compared to what else you could do with it. It's just like the simplest concept in the whole thing. And you'd think somebody would look at that and say, yeah, I get it. I get it, because that's literally how I live my life. Everybody does. But no, it's that they can't handle the truth moment.
Yeah, no, it was just a very kind of, this is what's wrong with the industry, or, this is what's wrong with video game companies or something. That's what it turned into. Essentially believing that they shouldn't be worried about that they shouldn't be worried about making profits. They should just be worried about making great games that people like, doing it for the art or something like that. And it's like, guys,
yeah,
I hate to break it to you, but the people signing those checks don't care. And they never will. They do not.
They don't write the check if there's no return.
No, that's all they care
write the
about.
check to somebody else, and then you can't make anything because you don't have any funding.
Right. Yeah, that's how it works.
Even in the Soviet utopia of video game development, even then the state has to pay. like the state has to deal with the opportunity cost for the individuals, even in a scenario as grim as that would be. Let's say we had federal government video games. Well, even then, they're deciding to put money into the video game development as opposed to some other potentially benevolent project from government. Everybody has to do this. It's so frustrating to see something be like the most important consideration. You do it when you buy the video game. You choose to buy Final Fantasy 7 X squared, whatever the hell it is. And you're making a conscious decision that I'm going to spend my 70 or my 100 or my 300 on this game instead of another game or another 2 games. When you make the decision to buy a game, even if it's adding it on Steam, you're also implicitly deciding what games you aren't buying. You are choosing, this is the one I want, which implies all of these others I don't want as much, given that I could afford them with that same amount of money. This is the one that I want. The others I don't want as much. That is all he's saying in the thread, is that companies have to do this too. Investors have to do this too.
Yeah. They have to decide what to make and what they're going to get out of it and what they're going to do next and how well it works. And if it doesn't work well, what they're going to do next. And, one of the things that he said is that's the big question mark, is what are they going to do next? What are they going to invest in that they actually can turn a profit on so they can continue to make other things, what they're going to scale back. One of the things that they could be doing, which is what you see nonstop, we got another several price hikes, is that's what all these streaming and subscription companies are doing, is that they are hiking the price for the people who have already signed up. So I think Hulu and Spotify, and there was a third one, maybe it was YouTube Premium. I don't know. All raised their prices again recently. That's going to keep happening because the way that the model worked before was not sustainable. And this is like another thing that probably nobody cares about. But when they were offering, you get Hulu and you get Disney Plus and you get, AMC Omega or whatever for $7.99 a month. Okay, they're losing a lot of money on that. The point of having that low introductory price is to gather volume of subscriptions, to get people in the door and to see how many people want to get in the door. And eventually, over the course of years, they figure out, okay, here's how many people are interested in coming in the door. And that's kind of it. Like, we're done getting people in the door, because at some point, there's only so many people who want to walk through that door and pay $8 a month for Disney Plus. That's not going to continue to grow forever. And since it's not profitable at that price point, you can't even break even. You're just losing money year after year. You're in the red. Eventually, what they do and what they have to do is raise the price for the people who are in the door. And then the game becomes, okay, how many people leave the door when the price goes up? That's called churn.
Yes.
How many people are churning out of our system, out of our subscription, when we go from $8 a month to $10 a month? That's a percentage. And then they crunch those numbers. And then they say, okay, here's what we can do at that volume of customer at $10 a month. Time to see what happens when we go to 15. And then that's what people are in the midst of right now. And every time you see these price hikes and complain about it, which I get, like, I don't want to pay more for this stuff. Nobody does. But this is the path that we're on for these services.
It is. And some interesting things happen with this. And one, when you hit that sort of saturation with new subscribers, I think it was Netflix. I just read about this yesterday. Their new signups in the last quarter or whatever were not actually new signups. They were people coming back to Netflix. So they're addicts who got clean from Netflix and now they've fallen off the wagon. I did work on a short with Ben about this that just it just came out today because Warner Brothers Discovery and Disney are merging their services. They're 3 and 4 in the streaming game behind Netflix and Amazon. So they will be combining for a couple different reasons. And one, obviously it's good for them. They get stronger in their battle with Netflix. But they also are giving people more of what they want. Because apparently the data shows that people don't like subscribing to 17 streaming services. They really top out at 2 or 3. So Disney and Warner are saying, okay, let's make it 3, and then we can be in the game with Netflix and Amazon, and not eat each other. I'm linking this in the chat. So if you don't like hearing my voice on this podcast, you really won't like it on a short. But it means that that those companies are responding to consumers with what they want, right? When you're talking about those prices getting higher, well, when that churn rate becomes unacceptable and you start to lose revenue because you've lost people, you can start thinking, well, what if we do a slightly lower tier that includes ads, includes commercials? Well, a lot of services have that now. The ad-supported content is back down to a $7.99 or something that people are willing to pay, as opposed to the $15 without ads. And if you really value not having ads, you can pay that price. Everybody's happy that way. So the companies are actually responding to this stuff in a way that helps consumers. They're basically figuring out, consumers are telling them what they want, and then they're delivering it. And that's a good thing. But that same sort of change has to hit these big studios. Would you call it? Is it the AAA games? Is this thing a AAA game?
AAA, yeah. AAA studios.
And what does that exactly mean? Is there like a double and a single A?
Well, I don't know about double and single A. Things usually get chopped up into AAA or indie because people think mostly in ones and zeros, but there are like B tier games, like I would call certain cheaper games kind of B tier, and studios like Square, from what I understand, are getting rid of those. Like that's part of their plan, is like these B tier games, they don't sell enough to make that worth it. Now we need to figure out how to make the blockbusters more blockbustery. But this is why I want to do a whole other thing about movies, because movies are running into this wall as well. It's kind of like the same wall. And I hadn't heard it talked about in terms of video games before, but yeah, I mean, he basically is guessing that, like, look, they'll probably keep making these games because there are a lot of people who love them, but don't be surprised if they're more expensive. Don't be surprised.
Do you think that's what's going to happen? That the prices are going to go up, or that they're going to spend less money and release something that's not, quite as blockbustery?
I think the prices are going to go up because they have to know what they're going to get from the customer, and if they can't sell through what they're at right now and hit 12 million units or whatever it is, if they say, hey, we can only sell 5 million units of this game, then those, 5 million units need to be $100 a pop or something like that. And look, I spent, like I said, like 100 hours playing this game. If I paid $100 for it, I'm paying, $1 an hour for incredible entertainment that I love.
Amazing.
I'm not complaining.
Amazing value. No, you should. Nobody should complain. This goes back to the price of a game thing that people also don't understand. It's like how much value do you need to get out of the thing before $70 is a really smart use of your money? And it's like I put 200 hours into this game and I'm so pissed that I spent $70 on it. Okay, find something for like 37 cents an hour that you can do reliably that's really fun and isn't illegal even in Somalia. Like these options don't exist. Books are the closest thing.
Yeah, books are cheap.
Books are cheap by the hour. Streaming services are incredible values because it's like unlimited time for $10 a month. I mean, I don't even watch nearly as much as I used to, and I still get incredible value out of all the services that I do, because what's the alternative? The alternative of an hour of fun is just hideously expensive compared to video games. I think I hate gamers. I think that's what popped into I absolutely hate people who play games.
Oh, well, this is the end of the podcast. Yeah. I think we're done. The final rift.
Yeah, I'll give you the designation of you're one of the good ones, Kevin.
Oh,
you're one of the good ones.
Thank you.
Mini Kudos is one of the good ones. I like talking to him about about Warcraft. I have in the past, and my friend John from college. We both loved the Age of Empires games. There's some good ones out there. But yeah, it's the people who talk about the video game industry that are like universally devoid of any human understanding. Is that a fair charge?
I don't know about any human understanding, but certainly the human understanding of the discipline of economics seems to be not of any interest in any real way, in my opinion, when it comes to these discussions.
The problem I have with that statement is that it's all microeconomic stuff, which is just life. That's why I like microeconomics as a set of things, because it just codifies and organizes everyday things. Like it's all stuff that every normal person is experiencing every day anyway. And it gives names to it, and it goes into, some detail to understand it better. But it is purely just like the conceptual and numerical analysis of living life. And that's what's applying here. And why I say that some of the gaming commentary people here just do not understand basic life stuff.
Yeah, but that's not just gamers. That's everybody.
I know, but I can't say on the podcast that I hate everybody.
Why? That's just me, Tabor's angry rant corner. I hate everybody. No, but I mean, frankly, this is what a lot of what we talk about on the podcast boils down to, like a gross misunderstanding and misconception and non-grasping of those microeconomics things, even in ways that aren't codified in a textbook, but just how they play out naturally in your life and decision making.
It's how many of the games are. Okay. So when I played World of Warcraft, my favorite thing to do in the whole universe of that game was buying and selling on the auction house. Now, I know how lame that sounds
Yeah.
because I like doing that in real life a lot. That's one of the only things I do in life. But little changes would happen where they would like boost the spawn rates for like mithril ore in a zone. And then the prices would hit the shits in the auction house. And people would be so angry that all the mithril in their guild bank had lost its value.
Scarcity.
They get it. Well, yeah. It's almost as if the supply and demand equation got shifted. They don't like how I said mithril.
Yeah, I wondered that as well. I've always thought it was mithril.
Yeah, I think it is, but I'm doing the Gimli kind of mithril, so I'm doing that dwarven kind of E on it. It's not entirely unfounded, is what I'm saying. Conrad says I'm doing the boomer. This is why I hate gamers. You can't win with them at all. But yeah, so this would happen all the time where one of the resources in the in-game economy would get too tight or get too loose, and it would have an effect on something like with herbalism. This happened with common potions for raiding, where all of a sudden it would be out of balance. There weren't enough people in the server to gather the resources. And so like the serious guilds would get up and go to a server with more population because all of their supplies would be, much easier to get. That happens in real life. That is literally how migration works. When you look at the states that lose population versus the states that gain population, the same thing happening in the World of Warcraft is why Texas and California are what they are, why New York and Florida are what they are. And everybody knows this. They know it. They will complain about it in a game. They will complain about it in real life. They'll complain about it with politics. And then when somebody raises a point, like in this Twitter thread, they'll be like, oh, no, that's out of bounds. It doesn't work that way. I don't know what you do in that scenario. How could you take any of those people seriously?
I don't know. I think that's a good question. I don't know how you can take them seriously. I don't think you have to. I think that it just, to me, it just shined a lighthouse size beacon on the utter disinterest, like the neck cracking yawn that talking about business and economics delivers to most people. It is just not something people want to engage with. It's not something that they like. It's just like, no, don't go there. I don't want to hear it. It shouldn't work that way. That's mostly the response. It says a lot that it works this way. That it works this way? But, well, that's just how it works. That's how everything works. So I don't know what you want to just reinvent a new world, I guess. Good luck. But
it's old man shakes fist and yells at cloud meme territory. Like the cloud's going to be the cloud, did you see the newest Smiling Friends episode, by the way?
Not yet.
Oh, God. Look in the episode chat. Conrad just posted it, and it's slowed down. Do you remember Zach telling us that if you want to be a hack with animation, just make everything move really quickly? Do you remember him saying that?
Yeah. He talked about how, it's like instantly funny. Like if something's not funny enough, you just make it go faster and it becomes funny.
Yeah. this this guy hatches from an egg and then just like runs and starts sucking toes, but it's like 5 times faster than Conrad's thing does.
Yes. And by the way, I did talk to Zach today, and he is interested in coming back on the podcast. He's just a little busy right now, if you could imagine.
Zach Hadel?
With Mr. Psychic Pebbles with the whole Smiling Friends thing. All right, we went longer on that than I thought, so I think we could wrap it up and go to Cheez-Its. And this doesn't have to be a long thing. I just thought it was funny because Taco Bell stuck a gigantic, you brought up Mario 3. Remember the level in Mario 3 where everything was huge? I don't remember what world that was. World 7 or something like that? World 5 maybe?
Yeah.
Everything was big. Taco Bell did that with Cheez-It, where they bigified a single Cheez-It cracker into this enormous, paper plate sized Cheez-It, and they crammed that into a Crunchwrap Supreme. And this is their new gimmick. I talked about going back to, this is really the marketing side of economics. One of the ways that you market things is through innovation. And I brought up the point about razors, like men's razors, always having some absurd gimmick where it's like, now we have 5 blades. Now we have 7 blades and there's a ball on the bottom. Now we can eject goo directly from the razor onto your face to smooth it out, whatever. There's always some new gimmick. They have to come up with those gimmicks in order to get people to buy the thing, to remember who they are, to get the new one, whatever. It's a form of marketing. It's like innovation marketing. Well, the fast food places are notorious for innovation marketing. They've done it forever. They're always introducing some new food item, or bringing one back. The McRib is back. Oh my God, the McRib. It's been gone.
Right.
They got to go back and get the McRib. This is how they operate. This is how the marketing operates for fast food. And I think that Taco Bell in particular has taken it to a meme-worthy, on purpose degree with things like a gigantic Cheez-It that they cram into, a glorified frisbee-shaped burrito. I think that they did a Cheetos thing in the past too. I don't remember what their Cheeto, or maybe it was Fritos.
Oh,
They had a
Cheeto. They had a Cheeto taco shell that was really good. I ate that at your house. That was actually the last time I had Taco Bell, which, what do you do? You eat Taco Bell and go to a friend's house. This is going to go badly. When the plumbing breaks, the best you can do is blame their wife and drive away and let them sort it out. But yeah, that was the last time. And it was, left horrible stains on your fingers, but it tasted really good. Oh, that was the Dorito Loco or something.
Oh, Dorito Loco. I remember that. Yeah.
That's what I meant. Yeah. But that's the last time I had Taco Bell.
Yeah. But it also just reminds me of something that I think we might have done a whole podcast around the Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavored everything. I don't know if that's still the case, but there was at least a window there where everything that I saw had some variant that was Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavored, whether it was like cookies or pancakes or just buying a shaker of the dust itself or, popcorn, Cinnamon Toast Crunch popcorn. I know that the term or the reference to Idiocracy is way overblown. It's almost as overblown and oversaturated as 1984. Everything is 1984. Everything is Idiocracy. Okay, let me have this one, because this is the one that I truly do think is like Idiocracy, where we're getting to a point where everything has to be like Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavored, or gigantic Mario 3 Cheez-It in a burrito, or I mean, even going back to Demolition Man, part of one of the funniest things to me about that movie was that there were fast food wars and Taco Bell was the only survivor. Or that
is funny.
Music was rendered useless and all people listen to now are commercial jingles. So you turn on the radio and it's all ads. It's just jingles for ads. Mm-hmm. This, I don't know what you want to call it, the cinnamon toastification of our diet, I think, is 100% an idiocracy move. And we just embrace it or we don't. Do you love it? I don't know. There were marshmallows. I saw marshmallows that you could buy at the store in a bag that was like a potato chip bag. It was like a resealable potato chip-ish bag where the marshmallows were covered in Cinnamon Toast Crunch dust, because of course. And you just pop that bag open and just shovel those in your mouth as you're watching TV.
Stuffed Puffs, Cinnamon Toast Crunch Bites. That's what Conrad just put in the chat.
Yeah, there they are.
Yeah, but I mean, people love this stuff. So the cinnamon toastification, I love. Bad Spoon says it's a wonderful term. It is that, because that really is the heart of the concept. You know, it was in Idiocracy. Also, Eric Cartman does this probably better than anybody. The latest South Park movie. It's only like 45 minutes, but they call it a movie. It's about like Ozempic and Manjaro type stuff. And he takes this and it reduces how much of cereal bombs he's eating. Now, a cereal bomb is a bucket of KFC that he pours cereal into and sits on the toilet as he eats the whole thing, so he can like continuously make room for what he's eating. And he has different levels of it too. Yeah, there's the picture. He's pouring Cocoa Puffs and Captain Crunch in the KFC, but he has different levels of cereal bomb. Like at one point, he needs to go have an Oppenheimer, which is like the next level of his cereal bomb. But yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous and fake, but it's really kind of quickly becoming real.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the next level of mukbang for sure, is just to sit on the toilet while you're filming the video, while you're eating it. You know, you just open up the highway and hit record and just, blast through your Oppenheimer. Okay, I want to get to my dumpster, and I want to get to your. Oh wait, I wanted to mention something. Boss Threads in the episode chat mentioned that the cinnamon toastification started with bacon, and I agree with that.
That's true.
I agree with that. There was an era where all of a sudden everything had a bacon variant. They were just injecting bacon flavor into crackers, into hot sauce, into chocolate. Everything had a bacon flavored, and it seems like that's waned. Maybe it's been replaced by the cinnamon toastification. Bacon flavored toothpaste. Yeah, everything had a bacon flavor. Yeah. That was a big thing, but like early 2000s maybe. But I want to go. Can we go into my dumpster story? Or actually, we should go. Okay.
Absolutely
something else.
Not.
All right.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Why did this happen with a Cheez-It? Because Cheez-Its are not that good. They're really kind of lame as a thing. So I understood the Dorito Loco Taco. That was really good. Doritos are great. They kind of fit with tacos. But why did they do this with a giant thing of like middling flavor? Cheez-Its don't even have much of a taste. Do people like them more than I realize?
Well, that's a really good question. I'm not in the lab. I'm not in the Taco Bell lab, so I don't know the thought process that went into it. I would think if I were to create such an item, it would be a gigantic Dorito. I would just stick with Doritos because those things are covered in that great flavor dust, whereas Cheez-Its are not. What does Cheez-It have going for it? The shape, certainly. It's very flat, so you can easily... perhaps there's a manufacturing component to it where it's easy to supersize to Mario 3 a Cheez-It, and maybe it's harder to Mario 3 Dorito. I'm taking this very seriously, as you can tell, but I want to get to the root of it. So I'm trying to come up with different rationales here. Obviously, cheese goes with Mexican food, perfectly. Yeah.
It's not a bad fit. It's not a weird fit. It's just like Cheez-Its and Goldfish are two things that just have really mild. They're like a saltine plus. They're not teeming with any kind of flavor. And I see Cheez-Its commercials a lot. So they must be more relevant than I realized. But all the things that you're saying about the inclusion, they're really cheap. They're easy to make. There's nothing to them. Stuff Cheez-It pizza. I don't understand this.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my surprise when you brought the whole thing up. Is like, why do people want a big Cheez-It?
Well, let's just put our marketing hats back on for a second before we move on. And you need to understand the fact that it's possible that Cheez-It just has this baller marketing person who is going out and banging on doors to get Cheez-It in Pizza Hut and Taco Bell. Because this stuff doesn't just happen in an emergent process. Like, there have to be, both sides of these companies have to be interested in this partnership. And I would say that the Cheez-It side, I can't believe how seriously I'm talking about this, but the Cheez-It side of the company, probably more so than the Yum Foods brand side, the Taco Bell side, they must have someone in those office buildings this is their job, and this is what they want to do, and this is their big push, and this is their idea for spending Cheez-It marketing dollars and getting Cheez-It to be like a bigger brand that people know and love, is by cramming Cheez-It into fast food. And maybe the other places that would be more delicious don't have that person. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. The whole thing is just a mind blow for me, because Conrad asked, well, maybe Yum Brands owns Cheez-Its. And that would make a little more sense, because Yum owns Taco Bell and a ton of other things. Well, I look it up, and Kellanova owns Cheez-Its. And I'm stunned here because Kellanova is the successor of Kellogg's. I didn't know that Kellogg's changed its name to Kellanova.
Me either.
They dumped that 100-year-old brand. More, 1906. That's like pre-FDA. Imagine being around longer than food regulation, and then just being like, oh, let's ditch that so we can sound like a horrible project that involves Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I thought it sounded like
Kellanova,
like a pharmaceutical company. Here at Kellanova, we're developing the future.
Yeah, the future of Pop-Tarts. Oh, man. Oh, they do make Pop-Tarts, yeah. I'm just having this entire sensation from everything that you've forced me to talk about. That, like, I don't understand the gaming people. I don't recognize who owns Pringles and Pop-Tarts anymore. It's a new name to me. I don't know why the world wants diarrhea slop on a Cheez-It. I don't understand. I'm the one who doesn't know how the world works.
Yes.
It's not any of the people I'm ripping on. It's literally me.
Yep. You are confused. No, I'm sticking a pin in somebody at Cheez-Its being a hyper proactive, amazing marketing person building these relationships to get Cheez-Its in burritos. That's what I'm going to go with. Knowing what I know about the way these sort of industries work and the way marketing industries work. That's what I'm going to stick with. Okay. So I found a treasure in the dumpster. Now, first, I want to say that I go to the dump. Okay. And I don't know if everybody knows about the dump. What do you think the breakdown is of like dumpers to non-dump people? I have no idea.
Boy, it's got to be 10-1. Now, do you mean go to the dump at all, or go to the dump like with regularity? Are you dumping regularly? That's the distinction.
I'm going to go with go to the dump at all. And I was thinking 80-20 non-dumpers to maybe 20% dumpers. You're thinking 10-1. So 90-10.
I think it's even less, because I haven't been to the dump in a really long time. I haven't had to, and because my initial thing was thinking, it's like 5-1 urban to rural people. Anybody urban doesn't need to go to the dump.
No,
they don't. So then, you're looking at like 15%. And probably half of them don't have much of a reason to go to the dump. I mean, I also don't go anything that I would go to the dump for. I tend to throw in my brother's dumpster. So if I didn't have his dumpster, I probably would go to the dump. But yeah, the dump experience, I think, is generally a relic of the past for most people.
Well,
I used to hear dump stories all the time. My great aunt Nina, had a can of food blow up on her, because that was back when the dump used to be on fire.
Wait, what? No, I didn't know the dump was on fire just all the time.
Well, it was. Yeah, it was like one big incineration thing. The garbage. It was like a perpetual fire, sort of, that just kind of bubbled underneath, and well, that's what processed the garbage. And she would go there with to salvage from the dump and just walk around in the trash and like poked a can with a walking stick, and it was hot from being, gently slow cooked, and it just exploded like, soup or whatever it was all over her, like hot soup. Imagine walking around the dump and you just poke the wrong thing and you're covered in like hot food tar.
Yeah, burning baked beans. That sounds horrible.
My point is, I don't hear stories like that anymore,
unfortunately. So I am a dumper. I go to the dump, and I made a trip recently to unload some dumpage. And my dad, actually, this was so funny. He was so excited by this. So I didn't know what happened. He pulled me aside and was literally like as happy as I've seen him in recent memory. He was like, "You have to see this. You are not going to believe what I just found." I'm confused. I'm like, we're at the dump. What possibly could I need to see right away at the dump? He brings me over to this shipping container, which is off to the side. It's in like a weird location of the dump. It's like this. It's like kind of.
You have to describe this, because I haven't been there in so long. I don't even know what the dump is like.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there are a few areas of the dump. There's like your recycling area where you throw all of your recyclables. Actually, there's a couple of different recycling areas for the dump. Then there's your main garbage area where you throw your household garbage. There's also sort of an area for like non-household garbage crap that you're throwing away. And then what he discovered is that completely alone on like the far corner of the dump, you can't even see into it from any observable angle, okay, is a shipping container filled, packed floor to ceiling with electronics.
What?
It is huge. It is a gigantic shipping container that you would see like on a train or like a boat being dragged from China. And it is just packed, and I mean packed, with piles, literal piles of electronics, stereos, CD players, record players, TVs, computer monitors, computers, printers, scanners, anything that you plug in. This thing is packed to the brim with. So I go in there, and of course, start digging around, and my dad's digging around. He finds the VCR DVD combo player. He takes that. I see a Sony Trinitron monitor that is like the holy grail for retro gamers. Okay.
This is a thing. This model is a thing.
I don't want to particularly say this model, but this type of monitor, because there are many different models. The one that I have is not great. It doesn't have component. It doesn't even have stereo. It's a mono unit. It's probably pretty old, but these monitors that they would use in TV studios are like the thing that all retro gamers want, because you can control the picture to a degree that you couldn't in like consumer TVs, because these studio monitors like had to be more precise. So I see this thing, and I immediately go on my phone and I look it up on eBay. I just put in the model number, I'm like Sony, Trinitron KJ11, whatever it is. $200 for this thing on eBay.
What?
Plus shipping. $200 plus
which is
shipping.
going to be like 40
at least. Yeah, for another 40, 50, $60 in shipping. So if
another 20, 25 on tax on that. So you're really getting near $300 all in with this thing.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't even think about tax. Yeah. So I'm staring inside of a bin, inside of a shipping container at the dump at a $300 like perfect retro gaming monitor. So I don't know that if it works. I can't plug it into a shipping container. That's the question. Does it work? And
what was your plan going to be if it didn't?
Bring it back.
Just take it back to the dump.
Just bring it back. I have nothing to lose here except perhaps an extra trip to the dump. I got to go back to the dump anyway. I'll just bring it with me the next time I go to the dump. There's nothing to lose by taking it. So I grabbed it. I brought it home. I didn't even clean it up. I just wanted to see if it turned on. I plugged it in right away. Boom. Fired up.
Crisp.
Totally fine. I'm like, it turns on. I'm in business. Now I'll clean it. I cleaned it up. It was pretty gross. Hooked up a Sega Genesis to it. Popped in Sonic the Hedgehog. Bam. Worked beautifully.
Wow.
So now I have a sweet Sony Trinitron monitor that is going to be great for popular science videos too. Like it's not just...
Oh, yeah.
Like
I didn't even think of that.
Well, it's portable, so it has handles built into it. You were meant to be able to easily move the thing.
And you would just have, I mean, you got to plug it in. So you would just have an extension cord and tote the thing around?
Well, I can, my point is that, so the other like gaming TVs that I have weigh like 100+ pounds. I'm not moving them onto my whiteboard table to shoot a popular science video. This monitor, I can easily just chuck on my table in 2 seconds and bam, now I have a screen on my whiteboard table for videos and I can use it for work as well as, just having this cool thing. So that was my story for the week. That was my dumpster find. And I'm pretty happy with it.
I have a couple questions about this. One, are you going to, like, you have, Charles Kahn says, Trinitrons are like finding gold. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You struck gold at the dump. How long did it take to get to that? You and your dad, rummaging around? How much time do you think you spent in the shipping container?
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like
it wasn't
half
an
an hour.
investment. No.
Okay. So you poke around for 2 minutes. You strike retro gold. How do you not do that the next time you go to the dump? Are you going to go on the hunt the next time you go?
Yeah, this is part of, look, not only am I going to go on the hunt, he and I were talking about how this could be somebody's part-time job. Like not like without like not joking at all. Like I'm not being hyperbolic. You could just go to the dump, grab perfectly good electronics and chuck them up on eBay, clean them up.
Yeah.
Like if you know what you're doing with simple electronic, refurbishment, I mean, especially if you know what you're doing with electronic refurbishment, you can make good money. You can make hundreds of dollars. I could turn this thing around for $200 right now from zero. It was free. It was garbage. That's a $200 profit.
Yep.
I paid nothing for
no
it.
Time, and you like wiped it down with Clorox wipes and called it a day.
Yeah. Find a box for the
I
thing.
like this.
Yeah.
I like it. This is your future, is in salvage, like Sanford and Son.
Yeah, I like that future.
By the way, we were talking about British TV earlier. I did not realize until I was 19 that Sanford and Son was a U.S. reboot. I was watching TV in England, and Steptoe and Son came on. Steptoe and Son was first, and it was that father-son junkyard sitcom.
Huh.
And so they just did it with Richard Pryor and Red Fox and made it American to do Sanford and Son. But the concept was British and a lot.
Richard Pryor was not in Sanford and Son.
Yeah, it was.
Really? I mean,
it was Red Fox and Richard Pryor.
No. Richard Pryor was not Son.
Oh, it was Damon Wilson. Yeah, right. I could have sworn that he. Okay, well,
now you learned something
and
else.
I would have been wrong. Yeah. Well, I haven't watched it in an extremely long time. So, anyway, but it wasn't an original. And I just assumed it was because it's such a weird concept, father-son junkyard comedy.
It was a good show.
I didn't. Okay, well, that's your future. You and your dad dumpster diving across, I'd say 4 counties. That's the range, the radius that you need is becoming the garbage kingpin, the salvage kingpins. Only electronics. You could, though, have, I don't know what you'd call it, but portable power, like you'd have a jump starter for a car. You could absolutely have a very small portable power unit to just test the things out right there.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
And that it wouldn't be, too much to ask.
Well, that's my future. Like it's my retirement.
Future.
Mm-hmm.
What I did is not dumpster diving, but it is a form of salvage. And I'm going to put this right in the episode chat because, Conrad linked to
Jackery.
$200. That's a lot. Jackery. I actually bought something that was Jackery a while back. It was one of those things where you really don't care about the brand, a cord or something like that.
I can't believe it's called that.
But yeah. Since I said that I disliked hate gamers, I thought of another class of people I absolutely hate, and it's people who eat food. I can't stand people who eat food because they complain about it. They complain about the food prices. All of Twitter is like this. All of Twitter is complaining about the food that they like being too expensive, and it never seems to occur to them that perhaps there's another way, maybe even a better way. I got this garbage bag full of bacon, which it literally is a blue garbage bag.
I know, but it's so funny to me that you said garbage bag because it came in a box. Like you could have just said box of bacon, but you chose deliberately to call it a garbage bag full of bacon.
There's no tie on the bag. The bag is not meant to be closed. It's a chute goes into this bag, and then they put the bag into a box for shipping, for stacking. It has to, because you can't stack
garbage bags of bacon. Yeah, that'd be hard to store. Yeah.
So the box is actually like a nuisance in the process.
It's the shell.
It was 30
it's
pounds.
The shell of the peanut. you just throw away, just discard.
It was $30 or $31 for 30 pounds of bacon.
That's crazy.
This is good bacon too. This is like $6.50 a pound bacon, but it's the ends. This is the technical term for the thing that gets cut off. And a lot of things have ends. You can buy Slim Jim ends, and instead of being the long, like perfectly measured Slim Jims, they're like whatever the offcuts are, and some are an inch and some are 2 inches and whatever. It's like a grab bag of pieces, but it's all Slim Jims. It's all the same thing. You're just going to chew them anyway. Like it's okay. Somebody made a bite-sized thing for you. That's it. But delis have the ends too, because if you think of the big blocks of cheese or meat that they're slicing, at a certain point, it becomes too small to slice. It gets too close to the little spiky thing that holds it, and the blades will hit that. No. So you have the ends, and some places make something out of the ends. Some don't. Some sell the ends. This is very rare. I like buying the ends because they're ridiculously cheap, and it's hard for me to buy meat and cheese sliced like that and be able to eat it fast enough. So this way I get like a bunch of different things. I get a buffet of offcuts for half the price. But it made me wonder how many people ask at like the grocery store, at the deli, how many ask what they do with the ends? All these people complaining about how expensive a pound of turkey is. It's like $8, $9. I mean, it really is a lot.
Yeah.
They're not wrong when they do this. but I've never seen a tweet where somebody said, yeah, I asked the deli if I could get, 3 pounds of ends. And so I got ham and turkey and chicken and bologna and everything else for like $2 a pound, because they can't use it. They can't sell it properly. So they're happy to get even a few bucks from it. The bacon that I got came from a factory that, they cut it into the 1 pound things. The rest has to go somewhere. Everybody has ends. That's my point. And there's so many, I don't know if you call it a hack or what.
I was going to say it's like an Easter egg. It's like a meat Easter egg. And that's why people don't do this, because it's hidden. They don't know. This could be your torch to bear is blowing up the this Easter egg, this meat Easter egg.
The ends market.
Of the ends
I'm
market.
going to ruin the ends market that I currently thrive in.
I know. You're hiding it and hoarding it for yourself and then wondering why no one else is involved.
I was trying to come up with other things like it that aren't like expired. So with the ends, there's nothing wrong with them. It's not like they're close to expiration. It's not like they're going to go bad. No, they're just not a perfect bacon slice. It's sort of like the damaged produce companies.
Yeah.
Which I used to get one before. I loved the boxes that I got. I loved that subscription until it got too expensive. But they weren't even damaged. Every once in a while, I would get like a weird shaped potato or something, but generally it was perfect looking produce. But yeah, I thought, how often? Oh, Taylor says his grandfather works at Old Trapper. Yeah, I've had old Trapper jerky. Vibecat says that, the butchers take the ends home. Yeah, you can only take so much home though. A deli is churning through, I don't know how many pounds of meat and cheese they'll do in a day, but there have to be a lot of ends generated. And I just want people to start asking for the ends. It's not weird, like you mentioned in a recent video, or, oh, no. You will mention in an upcoming video about the sorts of videos that a rental place might have behind the curtain.
Oh,
yes. Back room.
Yes. No spoiler alerts.
No spoiler alerts. It's not that, though. It's not weird. It's not strange. It's not an embarrassing question to ask.
I asked a butcher an embarrassing, weird question once.
What was it?
I asked for brains.
Oh, yeah. What did he say?
I went to several places asking for brains, and they all looked at me like I had 7 heads. It was like, well, it must have been creepy to begin with. Me showing up, being like, hey, will you sell me some brains, some cow brain? Or, it was for a video that I did where I ate a pig's brain, or maybe it was a cow brain. I don't even remember at this point, but I had to special order that out of like one place in Ohio or something.
I remember
that ended up sending it to me through the mail. I got it in like a styrofoam thing, this freaking brain. But it's funny that you mentioned like asking butchers embarrassing questions when like I actually had to do that. And that was weird. It was, but the ends is normal. It's not asking for brains.
Yeah. Asking for the end of a loaf of bologna or whatever the unit is called isn't quite as weird as being like, yeah. Do you happen to have any raw brains, animal brains?
Yeah.
But these aren't strange questions. And it's not like the day old stuff that a bakery will have, which also is good. But you're not asking for like a second quality item. The only knock on this is with bacon is that, they cook evenly. If you have like decent slices of bacon, you put them all out and they all cook at the same pace, provided your pan distributes properly. That is a bonus. And when you have the ends of bacon, they are finishing at different rates. Well, whatever. I mean,
can you oven it?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can absolutely do it a different way, but like, I'm trying to come up with reasons why it's bad.
Well, does it have like a weird skin on it? Does it have like a strange texture?
Nope. It's just the sizes that are different, really.
Do any of the ends have weird textures on the outside of it?
Not that I've noticed. No,
Like I'm thinking like the heel of bread is kind of weird compared to the
it has the
inside
knobbies.
slices. The heel of bread has a different flavor because it's like all outside. It's like all
Call it the
it's all
knobby.
crust. It's like oops, all crust. What is? Wait, what was that from?
Succession.
Yeah. Yeah. That was like the funniest scene.
All knobbies. Meat ends. Yeah, ask for the ends. Ollie's sells ends that are from, I think Sugar Creek is the brand name on it. The Slim Jim ends in 2-pound packages. It's like $6 for 2 pounds. That's pretty good for Slim Jims. And when you look up Sugar Creek, that's the manufacturer of Jack Links. So you're literally buying Jack Links Slim Jims, not Slim Jims, but Jack Links meat sticks, just with a different label on them of varying sizes for like 5% of the cost of the real thing. A Jack Links meat stick is over $1 an ounce. You can buy a pound for $3. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. But this is the task. And Vibecat says he's going to do it. He's going to ask for the ends here.
Yes.
But
awesome.
this is the gauntlet that I'm throwing down. This is the challenge.
We want evidence. We want photographic evidence of your meat ends.
We want evidence, but generally ask for the ends in all things.
Yeah.
It's got to be okay. Like, you don't want to go into a restaurant and say, well, I like what's on your menu, but can you cook me something with the refuse for half the price? That's bad. Don't do that. But if there's an opportunity where it makes sense to ask about those things, do that. I'm really intrigued now about what other opportunities exist.
Do you know
that are like this?
Okay, so first of all, restaurants normally don't have what you're talking about, except today's special. That's what the specials are in a lot of restaurants, is the stuff they're trying to get rid of. That's why it's a special, is because they're highlighting it to say, all right, this salmon is going to turn in like 3 days. We got to dump it. Well, time for a salmon special. I mean, not all restaurants do this, like the really ritzy ones, they don't, but they have a high enough turnover that they don't have to.
Yeah.
But, oh yeah, baby. That's what a lot of specials are at restaurants.
Vibecat says he's going to ask at the farmer's market. I am dubious about that because the ends, the concept of the ends in life gets rich when something is high enough volume to produce them. And I'm worried that farmers market people are, number one, don't produce the volume to make that a thing. And number two, they are probably already selling the ends, because they're trying to squeeze every dollar out of what they do. So they may have them for sale. That you can ask. Yeah, you may very well have, a second tier product that is actually as good as the first tier. But I'm intrigued. If anybody has an idea for another thing to try to get in the world that is conceptually the same as the bacon ends, I want to know what it is. I'm really intrigued by this. There have to be a lot of these things out there where it's not a truly inferior product. Carpet remnants. Oh, that's so you can eat any quantity of bacon. You could only use a carpet remnant if it fit, your project, but it's that same idea, the remnants of something. Bakeries have to have cake remnants, which my aunt baked cakes for like weddings and stuff like that in the past. I would love, when I was a kid, getting a big bag of what got cut off, when you like make the shape of the cake, cut those remnants off.
Cake scraps.
So bakeries have to have remnants. Butchers, delis, they have remnants. The remnants are out there. Be a consumer of the remnants. And then you won't be complaining on Twitter about $9 a pound turkey. And when things are expensive, which they are increasingly expensive, and the things that you like are, you have to make difficult choices because of the opportunity cost. You can consume these things even cheaper than you did in the past. Boss Threads calls this remnant maxing. I think that's the term. I think remnant maxing is it.
Can I throw out two things that people probably already eat that are remnants? Tater tots are remnants.
Oh, yeah.
So tater
yeah.
tots were invented to have something to do with the remnants. They just
Yep.
compress them into a square and bake them or fry them or whatever. And that's what tater tots are. It's like broken French fries.
Yeah.
And
What's the second one?
hot dogs.
Hmm.
Hot dogs are
gotta-
remnants. It's, ears and snouts and buttholes and whatever is
That's
left
right.
over, ground into a slurry and shoved into a tube. That's what a hot dog is.
Chicken wings were originally remnants.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Buffalo wings, Anchor Bar and whatever. Chicken wings were just a useless piece of the bird at that time. And somebody thought, well, what can we do with these to make them useful? And now chicken wings are more expensive per pound by a lot than chicken breast. So that was originally a remnant. They must have done so. It probably gave them to dogs and stuff like that. Ground them up for, animal food.
Feed. Yeah.
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 But that's it. This our task is to come up with a good list of the remnants that we can all begin to take advantage of.
I like it.
We need to remnant max as a podcast.
All right. Well, everybody start your remnant maxing. Thank you to all of our patrons for hanging out with us. If you want to become a patron, go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown because we are a Patreon supported podcast. Go remnant max. And if you're a dump person, check out the electronics crate, the electronics, murder dumpster and see what you can find there because there may be gold in your neighborhood. All right, we're out of here. We'll see you next week and we will see you, Space Cowboys.
Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. We make this show with the support of our patrons. 100% of that goes directly to keeping episodes going every week. And the recent support has been amazing. Sidpoke, NRM, Venture Addicts, Weezer Good, you all really do make this show happen. Thank you to the Tots and the Dumpster crew, old and new, who save tiny little lives every month. And thank you to our grizzled, battle-hardened child infantry. Clemente de los Santos, Dan the Latch, Demetrius Andrews, Erica, Ferrycoon, Jen Mathesanti, Kevin Menard, Mikhail Steinke, Monahim, Natsu, Penny Piddler, Ryan Steer, Ryan Kinder, Samuel Manser, Sean S., Sean Malone, and Tom Videover. And a tremendous shout-out to our elite baby gang commanders. Atrocious Scuff, Kat, Dojangles, Graham Robertson, James Gallagher, Jeff Davis, Orange Vanilla Coke, Patrick Pister, TCU's personal pilot, Andy, Ryan Carroll, Baseweight, Vinthos, Yeetus Deletus, Jonas Walter, Nathan Robinson, and of course, Trev's dead. You are the elite. Thank you as well to our indentured servants, producer, editor Ben Webster, Minecraft mogul Laterman, Discord kitten wrangler Conrad, and producer emeritus Dan Yosua. Thanks to Baseweight for use of Created in the Unknown for the opening theme. Thanks to Electro Voice for giving us mics to sound good on top of it, and thanks to Main Gear for powering all our PC endeavors. The Create Unknown is an Unknown Media production in partnership with Studio 71.